Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Dynasty Wonderland podcast. Thank you for joining. And I am the Mad Chatter, Ryan MK, that's right. And by my side, the salary captain, Mr. Aaron Stewart. Welcome, buddy. What's up, buddy? How's it going?
Oh man, it's going well. We end this weekend on such a high note, at least for
Yes.
me. I'm a Cowboys fan. So that winning streak continues. 6 games. Love it, love it, love it. It's like the trifecta of sports for me the past 24 hours. Spurs got a win on the road. Astros just forced a game 6. It was not looking good in the first inning. And then to top it off, Cowboys just still looking good. Winning without Dak. Like unbelievable.
Yeah, I wasn't sure they were going to be able to pull it off without Dak. I half jokingly suggested benching all Cowboys if Cooper Rush was the starter. But of course, no way to know that is a Sunday night game.
Yeah.
And so,
gotta hate those.
Yes. Excuse me. So, but yeah, they played well enough, and not the most exciting game, if you ask me, but it was kind of crazy seeing the Cowboys, your squad, against a team I'm very familiar with and used to root for very hard, and it's kind of a cap to. It was definitely another one of those weird Sundays. So let's go ahead. What do you got to say about the game as the Cowboys fan, Mr. Aaron?
My first thing is, wow, look at all the big catches that all these guys had.
Right.
Cedric Wilson had a couple of plays. I mean, there was the receiving touchdown where he just made everyone look silly. And then this little trick play where, man, he threw that football. I was like, wait a minute, like, who is, like, I just caught the clip. I wasn't actively watching the game at that time, so I caught it much later and went, is that Cooper Rush? Like that pass looks so good that I was like, that has to be a quarterback that threw it. Nope, freaking Cedric Wilson just continuing to have such a great season. That guy probably isn't going to be in Dallas next year, but wherever he goes, man, he's going to be a solid role player. Then on the Minnesota side, Adam Thielen season. That was kind of the major takeaway because, Justin Jefferson, I guess he must have been matched up with Trayvon Diggs because Jefferson did nothing. 2 catches, 21 yards, nothing. On the rushing game, nice to see Dalvin Cook seemingly healthy. We barely saw any Alexander Madison, so that's good for fantasy because those injuries, you never know. Like, is it something players deal with all season? So to see Cook seemingly at his normal workload, that's great because we've seen so many other running backs recent weeks that they've dealt with injuries, and I'm thinking of Antonio Gibson in particular, that he's having to split the load with 2 other running backs. So good to see Cook healthy. I think that's really my only takeaway on Minnesota. Their passing offense as a whole, just not good.
Yeah.
Kirk Cousins.
It's the inconsistency. Yeah. Kirk Cousins. No, I don't have to say a whole lot to say about it either. Other than I did quite enjoy some of that Amari Cooper catch where the pass went off one of the Vikings defenders and then into Amari Cooper's hands, and he bobbled it a little bit, caught it. Great fucking catch. That was fun to see. So there were some moments, but overall could have been a little more exciting. But Cooper Rush versus Kirk Cousins. What are you gonna do? What are you going to do? So,
crazy.
All right. And, I didn't mention right off the top, happy Halloween to everyone. I hope you've had a good one. Of course, you won't be getting this on Halloween. So now I'm kind of glad I didn't do my costume because the people watching would be like, yeah, that was yesterday, bro. We are in November, man. Come on, get your shit together. So anyway. Maybe that's a good thing. But anyway, happy belated Halloween, I guess. I don't know if that works the same as with birthdays, but we went out. We had a good time, did some trick-or-treating. right before, well, yeah, shortly before the Sunday night game started. So that was very nice. So happy Halloween to everyone out there. And I did want to mention, and I'm sure everybody saw the thing with Calvin Ridley and the letter, because I hadn't seen any of this when I wrote the infirmary report. And so this was kind of like, oh shit. And, all I can say is football aside, hope dude gets things figured out and gets, his shit on track and, take care of your mentals, as Marshawn Lynch would say. So absolutely. I wish him the best. And yeah, man, it's must have some real shit going on if he's going to step away from football is what I was going to say. So right. Very much good luck to him. And I don't know if you have anything you want to add, but feel free. Otherwise we can head into Off With Their Heads.
No, I guess you basically covered it there. Thoughts and prayers go out to Calvin Ridley, whatever he's dealing with. Just hope that he's able to take care of that, and then he can resume his career. It's really kind of weird stuff there. And if you're a fantasy manager and you're angry about Calvin Ridley, like, geez, you need to reprioritize your life.
Right.
Like, just things happen. Things happen. And with that said, I think it's time to go right into Off With Their Heads.
Okay. Give me what you got.
All right. First one I got, Carson Wentz and the Colts receiving weapons. This was a brutal loss by the Colts because, as we talked about on our last podcast, they'd already lost to Tennessee. So now they've been swept. They're now, if you look at the standings, they'll show that they're 3 games behind Tennessee. But since Tennessee swept, they hold the tiebreaker. They're really 4 games behind Tennessee. And now it's only a matter of time. It is only a matter of time. It may start with a trade deadline. They're going to start. I don't see this team continuing to compete. Like, that is such a huge obstacle to overcome. And because of that, I'm going to try and get ahead of everyone else here and say, you know what, just done with the whole Colts passing offense. That stinks because that includes one Michael Pittman who had himself a game, 10 catches, 186 yards and 2 touchdowns. But it's more of, at some point they're going to pull Carson Wentz and they'll come up with something. They'll say, oh, he's dealing with injuries A, B, and C. We got to shut him down for the season. And who is their backup quarterback? Is it Brett Hundley? Is it still Brett Hundley? It's not Eason anymore. And in Hundley,
maybe it's Ellinger.
Maybe, but he's a rookie that only recently came back from being injured. So either way, it's not ideal. Like whoever they put in is just not good news. So, go ahead, get ahead of the curve and Off With Their Heads to the Colts passing offense.
I'm going to say Off With Their Heads to the fucking Browns wide receivers, particularly Jarvis Landry, who had quite a few drops and a fumble. And I guess this is a little less fantasy related, but it's not, because I'm just tired. Well, no, it's not total. I am tired of the Steelers. Big Ben is done for. This is a team we do not need around. And I would like to see the Browns ascend. And this was such a great game. And to see, like, the Browns, they had this game, but there was too much of that. Too many drops. Jarvis fumbling. Odell was dropping them. I'm just like, man. And Baker played well. And, these fucking receivers can't hang under. It was very frustrating to see all the drops. Yeah. So, Off With Their Heads, Browns receivers, not just because Browns lost the game, but that's fantasy points you're dropping. And on top of that, you're just letting Big Ben and the Steelers hang around and be relevant. And I just don't think that's very good for football fans. That's just what I think. I'm just saying. Anyway, that's my one and only really off with their heads for this week. So if you've got another one or two, go ahead and bring it.
I'm going to stick with the one I got too, because, on this podcast, we don't like to be negative too much. We like to, the reason we do this first is because we just want to get it out of the way and get into our takeaways. So, yeah, I think that's all we got. We have 2 passing offenses that we're just done with. Just done.
Yes, very much. All right. Well, speaking of takeaways, let's head into it. Mad observations. Aaron, go ahead and give me your first one for this Sunday.
All right. So we're going to stick with the Cleveland Browns. I think it's a perfect segue.
There you go.
Browns got flushed. Toilet humor. This is what we've got on the podcast today. So they lost a very important game because it dropped them to 4-4.
Yep.
Of those 8 games, they've already played 5 home games. So you've got more road games to play in the second half of the season. And the other thing is, what I have here is Odell's got to start spelling his name with 3 L's now. He took an L today. Right. 1 catch for 6 yards, only targeted 1 time. I mean, it's the Brandon Ayuk stat line. And I don't know what it is. Is Odell still the special talent? I don't know. Maybe not anymore. Or maybe it's just not a good fit. Sometimes that just happens. But it's incredibly frustrating because we like Baker as a football quarterback. He's talented. He was talented last year, still talented this year. Odell has been a talented receiver. It's just those guys have just never clicked. Super frustrating. And I have a massive conspiracy theory on Odell Beckham's next place he's going to play. If you're interested, it's totally not a serious one, but here we go. I actually tweeted this out before our podcast, and I said, I'm going to pull it up here. Of course, we talked about his fantasy irrelevant performance, 1 catch for 6 yards on 1 target. But his performance told us where he's going to be on Tuesday. Tuesday, of course, is the trade deadline. You take his catches 1, yards 6, and targets 1, you get 161, right? And if you look up the area code for 161, it brings you to Manchester, or close enough, because Manchester is 0161. Manchester's in England. What else is in England? London. Who plays in London? The Jacksonville Jaguars. But the numbers, they point to this even more, because then you look at the head coach, Urban Meyer. How many scandals has Urban Meyer been in this season? 1. And how many teams has he been the head coach of? 5. And what's 5 plus 1? It's 6. The numbers 1 and 6 are there again. It's there in the numbers. Odell Beckham's going to get traded to the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Oh my God, you've cracked the code for the conspiracy. This is fucking amazing. Oh man, if that shit comes true, first. I will have a fucking aneurysm most likely. That is great.
I'm waiting because I have it on Twitter. I have it on Twitter, and I'm just waiting for someone just to, because I don't, when I'm just being me on Twitter and totally not serious. There's people that just they just don't get it. They take things way too serious. And that may cost me some followers, but it's just, I'm waiting for someone to go, this is the stupidest thing I've read on the internet. And, I go, wow, that's my accomplishment.
Yep. There you go. Okay. All right. Well, I will go with my first observation, and I'm dead. I got to do it. I got to do it, lad. Flash of Mike White, that is. Because this dude, I wrote about him in the infirmary report. I not even wrote about him. Just a quick sentence. When I had mentioned that Corey Davis was doubtful for today, it said, just another thing to go for Mike White's breakout or something like that. Well, this motherfucker actually had a little bit of a breakout. Yeah, he had a couple interceptions early on, but he went on, played pretty well, 405 yards, 3 touchdowns. And then he got Michael Carter. Michael Carter was the lead back and his leading receiver. Dude had 77 yards and a touchdown and then 95 yards receiving. And the Jets took out the fucking Bengals. So the Jets, who is this shitty team, somehow on their resume have a win against both the Titans and the Bengals. This is insane. But props to them and props to Mike White for having an excellent Sunday. And I don't know if it's enough to make them, think and consider you over Mr. Zach Wilson, the young promising boy. But you played well today. And I hope you can continue to play well, because I would like everyone to play well, if I'm to be honest. So that's what I had for my first observation was, hey, got to give some props to Mr. Mike White.
And Mike White's performance was so impressive that he was also in my Mad 5 takeaways. But
there you go.
I'll take a little different approach from this one, because I'll go a little bit broader here. By any chance, have you happened to look at like the leaders in all the different categories? Passing, receiving, rushing?
No, for today?
Oh, then that's perfect. I have got in front of me the top 5 passing leaders for this week. Are you ready for this?
Yes.
Let's start with number 5. Number 5, Davis Mills with 310 passing yards.
I did see it as similar. Okay, I'm ready for this. Okay, keep going.
Number 4, Jimmy Garoppolo, 322 passing yards. Number 3, just got the big win, Cooper Rush, 325 passing yards. Number 2, it's another guy that you go, really? How in the world is he on this list? Tom Brady, 375 passing yards. And then, of course, the leader for the week, Mike White, with 405 right. passing yards. So it is just, I'm looking at one of my fantasy leagues on Sleepers, so I was able to pull up like the sorted stats there.
Right.
And literally everyone but Brady was not on a team. It's the most ridiculous thing that I've seen. I can't remember a week where the passing leaders were Rush, White, Mills. Like Garoppolo, okay, he has been a long time starting quarterback. It's like, okay, yeah, like, is he good? Not really, but has got enough starts under his belt that you go, okay, any starter can have a big game, kind of like what you talked about with Michael Carter, him having this massive 177 yards from scrimmage and a touchdown after not doing a whole lot for a good amount of the season.
Right.
So, that's really my major thing. Of course, Mike White, we salute you, because I want to say he started off, he had the 2 interceptions early, not entirely his fault. And it was like, oh no, like,
right.
Just a backup quarterback tossing interceptions, and to turn it around is, wow, props. Give him some applause. And so impressive that he made both yours and my Mad 5 takeaways.
There you go. All right, my second one. Hurts, don't it? That's right. And this is about the Philadelphia Eagles running all over the Detroit Lions. Because I really thought, hey, I think the Lions got a shot of winning their first game here. The Eagles, as much as I believe in Jalen Hurts and all this, they haven't been impressive. And, throwing the ball, still not overly impressive. But Jalen Hurts did rush for 71 yards. Boston Scott rushed for 60 and 2 touchdowns. Jordan Howard rushed for 57 yards and 2 touchdowns. And I went into this big thing thinking, I wrote about it in the infirmary, thinking, okay, they've basically been playing Gainwell as the number 2 guy there recently. This has got to be his show. This has got to be his show today, right? No, 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 no. Not only was it Boston Scott, who I did mention that would probably get some work. Not only was it him, but Jordan. Brain hurts. Brain hurts. So I got that shit super wrong. And so, yeah, I will take that one. But overall, the Eagles, yeah, just that word I used not, but a few weeks ago, stampeded. They stampeded the fucking Lions today. And so good for them. That's all I got to say about that. I was wrong, but the Eagles stampeded, ran all over the Detroit Lions today.
I love it. My one takeaway from your takeaway is, at least with Jordan Howard, it's, he treats everyone the same. He's going to take away Miles Sanders' carries. He's going to take away Kenny Gainwell's carries. Just what a wonderful guy. He does not discriminate.
That's true. And Jalen Hurts, are we starting to worry about him? Like, it might not be a franchise guy. Some of us thought in the offseason. I'm getting a little worried.
Yeah,
if anything,
interesting thing. Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
I think if the interesting thing is I know the Eagles have got all these first round picks and some are really, really high, but is their answer to the quarterback position in this draft class? I don't know. It's like in college football, each week it changes. Like
right.
1 week, it's like, yeah, there are some starting NFL caliber quarterbacks in this draft. And then the next week they're like, yeah, nobody's standing out in this class. So that becomes the question. So, but you're right. Like this is going to be something that it's just like Jalen Hurts backup Gardner Minshew, just for multiple seasons. It's just that cloud that just hangs over you where you can only play bad for so long. Right. Yes, he's scoring fantasy points, but you got to do all the quarterback things.
Right.
Yeah.
That doesn't matter. That doesn't matter to them. Fantasy points.
And because that next season, he's on the third year of his 4-year rookie contract. That's when extension talks start to happen.
Yep.
And that will make it even more awkward because does Philly want to commit to him? I don't know. Shoot, I don't want to be in the Philly front office and having to make that decision because that's just a difficult one with the way quarterbacks are getting paid these days. I mean, sure, he may not get, of course, he's not going to get Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson type money, but do you want to commit 35 or up to $40 million for a quarterback that you don't know if you can win with? And you look, and I'm a little bit bitter because he was my cash game quarterback, but
right.
The passing yards, some of that was just the way the game went, massive blowout, but
Yep. All right, go ahead with your next one, my friend. Right.
My next one. Let's see. Where do we want to go with this? Let's stick with quarterbacks. A fellow second-year quarterback. No redemption for one Justin Herbert. 18 for 35, 223 yards. Had a couple of touchdowns, but also had a couple of interceptions. And one of those interceptions actually clinched the game for the Patriots. Just rough. And is Herbert a bad quarterback? No, Bill Belichick, he has coached for such a long time, has gone against so many great quarterbacks. He just knows what to do, especially younger quarterbacks. Yep. And man, I do want to pivot to one of his teammates because basically, of course, Herbert, bad performance. But Mike Williams had, what was it? It was 2 catches for 21 yards, I believe. And for people that maybe haven't been following too closely, that means 3 of Mike Williams' past 4 games, he has scored under 5 fantasy points. 3 games. Now, the frustrating thing is his other 4 games this season. So he has 3 games with under five fantasy points. They've been on bye. So the other 4 games they've played in, he has scored over 22 fantasy points. Like, you are getting wide receiver 1 weeks, and then might as well have just left that wide receiver position open because he did next to nothing. Just incredibly frustrating. Because that's just not what I want from my top fantasy performers. I'd rather have a little bit more of a floor. And then the question does become, especially kind of these recent struggles here, is where are we with Mike Williams? Right. He is certainly talented, but like, what happens when he goes and signs somewhere else, which there's big chance of that happening this offseason. They didn't pick up his 5th-year option because, of course not, because at that point dealt with a lot of injuries and certainly not been anywhere close to this level. It's a good chance that he's gone. And what type of receiver are we going to get? Like, you almost fear that it's going to be like Corey Davis or most receivers, like most wide receivers, if they're allowed to make it to free agency, to sign somewhere else, there's usually a reason for that. There are exceptions to the rules, but it will be interesting to watch the second half of the season.
Yeah.
I'd like to see some more consistency with Mike Williams, because it does seem to be that this year in particular, this Chargers team will go as far. We know what we have in Keenan Allen. We know what we have in Austin Eckler. For the Chargers to win this division, they'll go as far as Mike Williams' performance, because that added such a dynamic level to this offense. So the 5 points per game, that won't cut it. We need to see maybe not the 22 points, but at least a better floor. Like, he can have a bad game, still score in double digits. That's all I got for the Chargers. You got anything to add to it?
No, not really. Keenan Allen, Austin Eckler, they're still getting theirs. I just feel like Mike Williams is kind of doing what Mike Williams always does. He's just not the most consistent, And you thought maybe this year with Herbert going in, it was gonna, pop off a bit more. But yeah, like you said, it just I just feel like it's still a consistency issue. But I don't know. That's why I'm always Keenan Allen over Mike Williams. I know I feel like that's more consistent, more stable. He's going to get the targets, so it's even better in PPR leagues. But yeah, they're definitely falling off a little bit. But again, this is the Patriots. I mean, at least they scored points. Bill Belichick blanked him the last time he played Herbert. So, yeah, so something to keep an eye on, I guess. But I'm going to go with we kind of talked about the Colts already. You did, off with their heads, the Colts offense. And I'm just going to kind of talk about that particular battle in the South from earlier. And I thought this was a hell of a game. It was the first one of the first, or the early slate. It was the only one that went into overtime. And it was just a lot of fun as a football fan to watch this game. And it was like Derrick Henry versus Jonathan Taylor. Well, Jonathan Taylor got you there, King Henry, because compared to your 68 yards, JT had 70 and a touchdown plus 3 catches for another 52 yards. So there you go. Check in the box for the Colts on that one. And Michael Pittman, going up against A.J. Brown. Michael Pittman, 10 catches, 86 yards, 2 touchdowns, while A.J. Brown went 10 for 155 and 1. So both receivers killing it today, just killing it. Thank you, A.J. Brown. You are the fucking man. And hey, like you said, good to see Michael Pittman coming into his own. But now that shit's about to dip. So if you're into Michael Pittman, maybe wait a month and see if you can't trade for him on a little bit more cheaper of a value than where he's at right now, if you know what I mean. So if you're following Mr. Captain's advice over there and you wait until, because he's right, with how that shit is set up, it would behoove them to sit Carson Wentz at some point if they're not going to be in contention. So,
Absolutely.
a very fun game. I enjoyed the hell out of it. And yeah, it's too bad that the Colts didn't win because I was really enjoying watching them play the past few weeks. But, when Carson Wentz does shit like throw the fucking ball while as he's getting tackled and like it literally the Tennessee defender just catch few yards touchdown. Like it was one of the most irritating. And I don't even care. I'm not a Colts fan, but just to see the stupidity in him just lofting it up like that, it was just it made me want to just my brain to explode. So anyway, fucking Carson Wentz off with his head.
With his head.
Again. And it's too bad because he also made some really good plays too. So it was just, it was. I really would have preferred the Colts winning so that we could continue to see a little bit more of a race between these two teams. And but not to be, because the Colts are in a fucking hole now. So, but that's what I got. Back to you, my friend.
All right. The next one I've got, I'm actually going to kind of piggyback off of the last thing I talked about with Mike Williams, because there is an NFC version of Mike Williams where you're either getting fantastic wide receiver performances and you're happy, or you go, what the heck was that? But that's one Mr. Scary Terry himself, Terry McLaurin.
You are so right about this.
Yes, because I have some stats on this, because my wide receiver cornerback matchup article series returned by the time you listen to this tomorrow. It came back the day before. It's been on hiatus because, of course, I got the COVID, and it's really hard when you have that virus to do anything. So Terry McLaurin was one of my sit, or actually he was the sit recommendation I have, which for people, because I haven't talked about it in a few weeks, for people unfamiliar with it, I go through and I try to find receivers that are rostered in less than 50% of leagues and telling you to start them because I think they have top 30 wide receiver potential. But also, I like to go the other way and go, these receivers are starting in over 50% of leagues, and I will bench them. And some might have been bold. I've had DeAndre Hopkins in the past. I've had Mike Evans in the past, and this week was Terry McLaurin, and he put up a whopping 3 catches for 23 yards. That's 5.3 fantasy points per game. And here's the numbers with him. He has played in 8 games this season. 5 of those games, he has 10 fantasy points or less. The other 3, he has topped 25 fantasy points. There's no middle ground, just like Mike Williams. You are either getting one of the top fantasy wide receivers for the week, or you're getting a bunch of nothing. You're getting basically low-end tight end production, or in Terry McLaurin's case, a little bit higher floor than Mike Williams. You may be getting the streaming tight end value. Not what you want, especially from McLaurin, who was drafted so highly in so many fantasy football drafts.
Right.
And that becomes a question. Like a player like that, what do you like? Yes, you love those 3 weeks of great production, but those 5 weeks they did nothing. Good luck trying to win your matchup based on how high you drafted them. So
exactly,
what is just a real quick question for you? Where do you stand on that? Like, if a guy that you invested the amount of draft capital that people that took Terry McLaurin, would you be happy with his season this year with those 3 performances where he topped 25 fantasy points? I think they may not have all been top 5, but they were like within top 7, top 8. Where the other side of the coin is those 5 weeks where you got less than, or you got 10 fantasy points or less from McLaurin. Are you happy if you took McLaurin, or are you disappointed?
I'd be disappointed. Just based on like the way I look at it is if you're inconsistent, I'm not that into you. However, if your good games are really good, you become more that boom bust, And to me, those are those wide receiver 3 flex kind of area players. I don't want my wide receiver 1 or 2 to be so inconsistent that they're more of a boomer bust, if that makes sense. And that's what Terry McLaurin is. So no, I'm not happy because I don't want because I probably drafted him as my wide receiver 1, 2 maybe. Or wait, where was he going this past year?
I'd have to pull it up real quick. I think I can get to it.
So probably not
here.
The 1, probably year 2.
He could be, depending on how teams started their drafts. Because I would say that if I remember correctly, and I had zero Terry McLaurin, and it just happened to be where he was going. Another receivers I liked better, and he went. I've got no draft. I don't think I've got any draft things here. I've got underdog maybe.
Nope. Definitely.
His underdog ADP was 28, so he was going like early 3rd round. So yeah, if you started RB, there's a good chance McLaurin was your wide receiver 1.
So he's going wide receiver. He's your wide receiver 1 or 2. Again, that's not where I want more. You know what I mean? So that's where I'd be at with him. I'd definitely be disappointed. Now I've got him rostered in a couple of dynasty leagues, and I was just looking at that today in one of them because I'm sitting here going like, I want to make sure I get the right guy in this spot today. And I'm looking at this, inconsistent, this highs and lows in his game log. And I'm like, and I don't. And I do believe I did not play him today. And so, yeah. Yes, definitely disappointed but so far he's got time to turn shit around for the rest of the year. So, I'm not going to say it's lost yet, but up to this point, definitely disappointed.
And my last quick thing to mention on it is it stinks because it's not even his fault. I mean, when you have Taylor Heineke as your quarterback, and I know Heineke had a good fantasy performance last week, but that was thanks to 95 rushing yards. So let's hope that Terry McLaurin isn't on that Allen Robinson career trajectory where he just never gets to play with a good quarterback. Man, like just imagining him with so many of these QBs because he's good. He obviously just flashed with those three weeks. I mean, some receivers are going to go all season without 3 games where they scored 25 fantasy points. And I just happened to pull it up. Actually, in fact, all 3 of those weeks, he was a top 5 fantasy receiver. It's hard to see that. Just fingers crossed, maybe Washington. Well, they're starting to sink here. I haven't looked at the overall standings. Maybe they finish high enough to where they can take a QB.
Hit a fucking quarterback, yeah. Maybe.
Let me actually pull up the standings. I have ESPN right here. It's loading the standings. Real time. Come on, computer. We're on the air. So in terms of the conference, Washington is only ahead of the Detroit Lions. So they are 2-6. There are three teams in the AFC with 1 win. So right now, Washington has a top 5 pick.
Yep,
so that is something to watch. They may, if they can't turn things around here, they could be in the running for getting one of the top quarterbacks.
There you go. Wouldn't be a bad idea for them.
Love it.
Okay. My next one is called Fields Day. And this is about the very interesting, for me at least, San Francisco-Chicago game. Justin Fields, it does seem like the Bears are doing a little more, putting him in better positions to succeed. He went over 100 yards rushing today with a touchdown. He threw for 175 yards and another touchdown. He had an interception, still getting some sacks, but I feel like there's improvement. Khalil Herbert had another solid game. Darnell Mooney, top target. You mentioned Allen Robinson. I do think Allen Robinson has a quarterback now. I just don't know if he's going to be around just to see, the fruits of all of that. meaning next year. But I do think we'll continue to see improvement from Fields throughout the year. And then on the other side, there's the 49ers, who I feel like, despite the score, I mean, the Bears were right there in this game. It was really, I'm going to tell you, I saw the shit. What I believe changed the entire game, because the Bills had him. They had him. And then there was a 3rd and 20. The Niners were backed the fuck up. And all of a sudden, Debo Samuel catches a short little pass. Like, Jimmy G, you're not playing that great of a game. And all of a sudden, Debo catches this fucking short little pass and takes it to the house nearly. And that was such a change in the game. And it's just like, it was 3rd and 20. They fucking had him. It was that one little mistake. And I think this just goes off of like what I've been kind of talking about like the last couple of weeks. I don't know about this 49ers team. And like Shanahan's supposed to be this great offensive coach, but they're never blowing me out of the water. And like they've had one great fucking season in the time he's been there. And it's just like, I want to see more out of him. And then I'm watching most of this game today, and I just feel like the Bears kind of bailed him out. I mean, like, and it's not anything. I mean, and Jimmy G is his 2 rushing touchdowns are just like, and some of the way he acted on those, just like, that was so awesome. It's like, dude, calm down, Jimmy. But on the other hand, Debo had another insane game, 6 catches, 171 yards, and my guy Elijah Mitchell. Yeah, I seem to remember people, that were even still a couple of weeks ago talking about Trey Sermon season, and I remember people like Elijah Mitchell, who? Elijah Mitchell, who? And Elijah Mitchell, 137 yards and a touchdown. That's who. And that's, like, whew. I mean, he's been playing well. He's been playing well, man. So I'm glad I hung my hat on that dude, because I've got him rostered in a good amount of leagues. So he's a nice piece to have right about now. But yeah,
absolutely.
I mean, there's some good aspects to the team, obviously, but I don't know if I entirely just trust him in general. And, we'll see, because I expected this division to just be insane. And really, you got the Cards and the Rams at the top. And, the Seahawks, obviously, kind of a depleted team anyway. Then you take Russ out. They finally had a good game and won today, albeit against the Jacksonville Jaguars. But they finally, got off the schneid. But, you figured more out of the San Francisco team, and I'm starting to be like, why do we always expecting more out of this? Because we've really gotten, you know what I mean? Just we've gotten what we've gotten from it. And it's like, so I don't know. That's kind of where I'm at with the 49ers, but I do feel like I'm seeing improvements with the Bears offense and digging some Khalil Herbert right now. So that's what I got for that observation, my friend.
And just one quick thing I want to point before this game, it just happened to be something I had stumbled upon researching for another player. And it's not surprising that Debo Samuel leads the stat, but he led receivers in yards after catch per reception, averaging 8.84. And now you have to just think that little short pass that he took 83 yards, is he like, I can't wait for the information to be updated in Player Profiler, because he very well may average over 10 yards of after the catch per reception. It's going to be just ridiculous.
It's insane. He totally bailed them out today. Shit was not looking good at all at that point, and it was 3rd and 20. They were backed up, and he just went chink, 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 boom, and I was just like, "Yep."
Good old Debo. I was just on a podcast with our friends of the show, Seth and Pat. We had on during the summer. They had me back on, and they were talking
Stellar
about
Seth Keller and
stellar Seth Keller.
Detroit's Dynasty Pat. That's right.
Yep. Look at that. Just the man with the names for everyone. Just such a fantastic skill.
I remember that pod. Them fellas were fun. I enjoyed that pod. So anyway, continue. Much fun.
And I know they were talking about Debo and how like, hey, he's not running as like aggressively, like he'll actually like look to get out of bounds. And they never understood why he was running like a running back. And I wish I would have mentioned on the show, but it's like he's built like a running back. I mean, he's a little taller. It's something like he's 5'11", 215. Like that's pretty close to running back size. So like him playing like a running back, not surprising. And my goodness, just what a dangerous guy. Like,
yes, he is.
Everyone wants the fast, like the speedy small guys, right? But it's like, no, like give me a guy. Debo's fast. I mean, I don't have his exact numbers, but Debo is not a slow guy, which is obvious by the yak.
Right.
But my goodness, trying to tackle a guy like that, if you're a defensive back and you're probably maybe 200 pounds, I mean, he's bigger than most of the guys that are guarding him in terms of like BMI and everything. So, oh, Debo, I owe him. I always say too, I have to apologize. I was not on Debo at all. Kept calling him Dino. Sorry, Debo.
Dino.
I mean, I am so happy to be wrong.
Right. Me too. I get it. Okay, man. Go ahead. Hit me up with your last observation.
My last one. The Saints. And you heard it on, the last show. But you heard it on this show where I said the New Orleans Saints would beat Tampa Bay.
Hell yes.
In New Orleans. And I have a lot of misses too, but I was proud on that one because you know what? We haven't really, anyone in the fantasy football community has not given the proper respect for the Saints. They're 5-2 now. They're 5-2. They are now just half a game behind Tampa Bay. I think Tampa Bay should still win this division. But New Orleans, and I was guilty of this offseason too, where I went, the Saints team isn't going anywhere. Like it's post Drew Brees. It's not going to be pretty, but you know what? They are always a well-coached team. They showed in this game, especially the way they won with the pick 6 on Tom Brady with the minute left. That never happens. Come on, if you're watching that game and it's 29-27 and Tom Brady's got the freaking ball. I mean, you go, I have seen this literally 100 times.
Right. Where
he's going to go in, he's going to just march his way up the field and they're going to get a win. And wow, it's nice because you get so comfortable on that. And then you just kind of get awoken abruptly from with the Saints that came in and just I was looking at the box score and going, where the heck do these points come from?
Right.
There's a lot of field goals and the defense stepping up. The Saints, we also have to mention, of course, Jameis Winston hurted off the field, not looking good. And then there does become a question of what are they going to do at quarterback? Because Taysom Hill was also out. So Trevor Siemian was the guy they put in at quarterback. And props to him. This was the week of backup quarterbacks.
It really was. It really
was. And, it will be interesting because there are people going, okay, trade deadline's coming up. If his season's over, and I would think they would know, they may know by Monday, possibly. It does become interesting. Do they make a move for a quarterback? And what type of quarterback are they going to trade for?
Russell Wilson.
Usually those guys may not move. I mean, it would be awesome. Man, that would be awesome. But I think one name that never gets mentioned ever is Tyrod Taylor.
Oh, God, that's an interesting
veteran quarterback that has just always been snake bitten with injuries at the worst time. And you look, it started with Mark Ingram, him getting moved. Wow. I just thought of Texans and Saints doing another trade.
Right.
It could work.
Never know.
Is this Taylor bad? I mean, I think he could certainly do worse. I think Taylor could do a Jameis Winston. That may be a little too bold. But, this Jameis Winston has shown this year with the Saints. It's not so much about the person under center. It's more of like this. It's just a well-coached team. And Winston just had to keep the ball moving, not turn the ball over. And Tyrod Taylor, that would be interesting. But just any veteran quarterback.
Right.
Except Deshaun Watson. I don't think they're in the Deshaun Watson sweepstakes.
Maybe he brings in Cam Newton.
That was something I also saw too. That would be very interesting.
Yeah.
It'd be weird seeing him in those colors. But yeah.
We'll see where it goes. Yeah. Way to go. Taking down Brady. I love seeing Brady pissed off. That is just me. All right, buddy. That's it. My last one was basically about the Saints, and ups to Trevor Siemian, who was by no means great, but for also doing the job and getting in there and taking down a Hall of Famer, or at least his team, coming in off the bench. So there we go. Any final thoughts, my friend, before we get out of here?
Ooh, no, I think that's it. It was an interesting slate of games, and you know what?
Yes, it was.
I'll take that.
There you go. And don't forget to like, subscribe, all that stuff. Hey, I remembered it this time, bro.
There we go. I love it.
Like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Follow on the Twitters at DW_pod, all that good stuff. And of course, he's Aaron Stewart, the salary captain, the March Aaron, AA Ron, Stu09 on Twitter, and I'm at RMK Manis on Twitter. Make sure you check it all out. That's right. And until next time, that's what we got for you for now. We will be back actually right after the Monday night game. So stay tuned. Until then, from the captain and the madman, we're out of here. Stay safe, stay vigilant, stay mad.